Hey everybody, thanks for joining us for a special look at what our restoration teams are doing on a ship in the deep Gulf. My name is Sasha Francis. I'm the Gulf Restoration Education and Outreach Manager from National Marine Sanctuary Foundation, and I'll be your host today. Soon we'll get to talk to our friends on a ship named RV Point Sur, which is a 135-foot ship owned by the University of Southern Mississippi and operated by the Louisiana University's Marine Consortium, or called LUMCON. Today the team is currently about 65 miles off the coast of Louisiana. Throughout today's program, please share any questions or comments that come up in the chat, and we'll pause for questions as we go. All right, we'd also love to hear your thoughts on today's program, so we have a short survey you can fill out to tell us a little bit about your experience today. We'll send the link to the chat now and again at the end of the program, and we'd love to have you fill that out before you log off today. All right, in just a few minutes, we'll connect with folks on board, but first we're going to talk about where they are and why they're out there. So as you travel deeper in the ocean, less sunlight is able to penetrate the water. Just past scuba diving limits, you reach the mesophotic zone, which means middle light. Despite the low levels of sunlight, this zone is home to colorful corals, sponges, fish, and invertebrates. Beyond this twilight zone, there's no sunlight at all, as well as colder temperatures and higher pressure. But there are still beautiful habitats full of life at these depths, hundreds to thousands of feet below the surface. These mesophotic and deep benthic, or seafloor, ecosystems are found worldwide, including in the Gulf, which is where all this beautiful footage is from. However, the 2010 Deepwater Horizon oil spill was really hard on people that live along the Gulf and the animals that live in and around the water. 11 people lost their lives, and natural resources, wildlife, and habitats across the northern Gulf were very impacted. Over 770 square miles of deep sea habitat were impacted by the spill. So, experts are working together at sea, in labs, and more to help us understand and restore these seafloor ecosystems found below 160 feet deep. These projects are developing new and better maps of the seafloor to find these important coral communities, learning more about the different species that live in these habitats, important information about the environment around them, and how they may be connected across the Gulf. They're also determining the best way to help deep sea corals grow and reproduce to help restore coral species that were harmed by the spill and the important habitat they create for other sea life. They're reducing the threats that these ecosystems face, like trash in the water, for example, and connecting the importance of these habitats and the restoration work to people like you and people that make decisions about natural resources like the Gulf. The restoration work is made possible by the Deepwater Horizon Natural Resource Damage Assessment Open Ocean Trustees and is led by the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration and the Department of the Interior, plus many partners, including a large number of academic institutions and non-governmental organizations, which is a lot of words to say. A lot of people work hard together to make this restoration happen and these habitats thrive. All right, hopefully y'all can hear me a little bit better now. All right. Well, now that you have a better idea of why our restoration experts are out at sea and what we're working on out there, let's connect to the ship. All right. Hey, everybody.
Hey there.
Hello.
Can y'all hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah, just fine.
Okay, great. All right. So let's have y'all introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about what you're doing on board here.
Go ahead, Sid.
Hi, my name is Sydney McDermott. I am a third-year PhD student at the University of Louisiana at Lafayette, and the work we're doing out here for the Deepwater Horizon is a part of my PhD research.
I'm Mark Benfield. I'm a professor emeritus at Louisiana State University, and I'm one of the scientists on board the Point Sur as part of this restoration project.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us today. I hope you're having some good weather at the moment, a little bit better, or are you
Finally.
Still a little bit rough?
Yeah, we
Good,
felt like we were
great.
inside a washing machine yesterday, but we're good.
Oh boy. All right. Well, I'm glad it's better today and I hope you have a better weather for the rest of the day. So, since our theme today is spooky creatures, have you seen anything spooky on this trip so far?
I think almost all of these animals that we see would look kind of spooky to someone that wasn't familiar with them, and they still look kind of spooky to us sometimes. So yeah, we have definitely the giant isopods. Sydney's been working with those. These things
Whoa.
are really, I mean, these are like the little roly-polies that you might find in your backyard under some wood or a log. These are 1,000 times bigger. And these are really well adapted scavengers in the deep sea.
They can get
Wow.
up to 2.5 feet long and weigh about 4 pounds. So
That's
very large
huge.
compared to the roly-polies you see outside.
That's like mega roly poly.
Oh, right, right. And most of the
Amazing.
animals in the deep sea, as you get deeper, they get smaller. But there's a group of animals that are gigantic, and they've evolved so that if any food falls to the seafloor, the carcass of a fish or anything large, they have exquisite senses of smell, and they can get there really quickly, and they're the first ones to arrive, and that enables them to eat their fill before anybody else gets there, and then maybe they go 2 years without another meal, but they're adapted to this feast or famine kind of lifestyle.
Whoa. And are you guys feasting or famining on board, or do you have plenty of food to eat?
Oh,
We're very well fed on board.
yes, yes, we are too well fed.
Amazing. Well, I'm glad that you don't have to worry about that, right? All right. Any other creepy, spooky creatures that you wanted to talk about
I mean,
that you saw?
alongside the giant isopods, we have been seeing lots of Chaseon crabs. These are Atlantic red crabs. It's one of our study species out here.
And these crabs
Ooh.
have a lot of them have barnacles on them. Those
You can
little
see all
white
the little
things,
white, yeah.
those are little parasites that live on these crabs. And we've seen some crabs that are so loaded with them they almost look like they've got a fur coat on.
Oh,
But
wow.
yeah, these are really large crabs, and like the giant isopod, these are amongst the first animals to get to a carcass. So again, they're adapted to finding and getting to bonanzas of food as quickly as they can.
Wow, I've seen those on the underwater robot screens when I've been at sea, and I did not know that they were that big. I don't think I've seen them come up in the sample to see how large they are. Wow, that's really
They get a
crazy.
little
Oh,
beefy.
yeah, I guess so. Have you seen any brittle stars? Those are like the really spindly looking
Yeah,
stars, right? Those
yeah,
are pretty cool looking, huh?
they're really cool, and the ones we've seen have been extraordinarily active. I mean, normally brittle stars are down on the bottom; they'll move around. We've seen them swimming. We were trying to figure out what music we should set this video to.
Wow, I don't think I've ever seen them swimming before. That's so special that you got to see that. Usually we see them like wrapped around the coral branches, right? And I don't think
Exactly.
I've ever seen one swimming in the water column. It looks like it's kind of hard for it to swim, huh? Oh, is that a little shrimp in the front? Oh, we got a little shrimp
Yeah,
It
it's a
too.
little shrimp.
is.
Yep, yep. We
Ooh,
tired that one
wow.
out. We followed it for a while, and eventually it just gave up and
Took a
parachuted down to
little
the bottom. Yeah,
took a little rest. Maybe it was on a long journey. That shrimp was very cool. It looked like it had really long antennae, kind of like a cape almost around it.
and a
Very
lot of the
cool.
animals we see are red. So that shrimp was red. The Chaseon crabs are red. In the deep sea, there's no red light. In fact, where we are, there's no sunlight. But as you go down into the ocean, it doesn't take too long before most of the red light is gone. And so if you're red
Wow.
in color, you're going to appear pitch black where there's very little sunlight. So being red is another adaptation to hiding in the depths.
So you would hide pretty
Wow,
well
that's really
Yes, I
in
fascinating.
would.
this shirt.
Yes.
I sure. Yeah,
Did you wear that today so you can blend in?
that's right.
That's such a fun fact. I didn't know that. Amazing. So why do some deep sea creatures look strange or spooky to us? Now that we know that like why some of them are red, but why might they look strange or spooky to us?
They're all adapted. Each of them has evolved to uh, be as best adapted to the conditions that they find themselves in. And so what appears spooky to us is really just what is necessary, what a natural selection has produced to craft an animal that's best adapted to its environment. So that these fish, you know, they're small, they're not particularly large. They unlike a fish in freshwater or near the surface, they don't have a gas bladder inside of them. A swim bladder is something that helps a fish control its buoyancy. But due to the crushing pressures down here, having a gas bladder would take too much energy to refill it if they needed to. So the gas bladders are gone, or if they have one, it's filled with oil, which is not compressible, but gives them a lift. Oil floats. And so each of these animals has that kind of unique adaptation in many different ways.
Yeah, and so that's why we can't live down there, right? Because we have a lot of air in our lungs, and that would squish that. But these guys are really adapted to be able to live at these depths, which some of these places we're visiting are thousands of feet down. So yeah, you have to have very special adaptations, which might make you look a little bit different, right? Sometimes they have weird eyes or dark eyes, or look like they have no eyes. Sometimes they're weird shapes.
Yeah, awesome. A lot of them have very big eyes because they've got whatever little light is down here comes from bioluminescence. That's light that is produced by living organisms, usually combining two enzymes that produce a flash of blue light. And so these big eyes on these animals allows them to gather as much light as possible to be able to see, which is why when we see them and we turn our bright lights on them, they often are kind of stunned in the bright light because they never see light of this intensity.
Wow. Yeah, it's kind of like how cats have really big eyes, or some nocturnal creatures you might see in like the rainforest have really big eyes, so they can absorb as much light as possible, if there is any, or help them see something down there.
That's a
so yeah. So you've seen some bioluminescent creatures. We do have some in the Gulf there.
Oh yeah. Now, because of our ROV lights, we don't see the bioluminescence. If we turned our lights off and if we had a camera that was more sensitive, we would be seeing flashes of light all over the place. Bioluminescence is probably the most widespread form of communication on the planet. This little animal we saw a couple days ago, it's a ctenophore, or a comb jelly. Again, you see the red color. It's a deep sea animal, so it would appear pitch black. And it's out there fishing just above the bottom with its tentacles that spread out, and it's like a long lining fishing operation. And it's trying to snare little planktonic animals in its tentacles, which are very sticky, and then it pulls them up into its body. Now that animal is probably bioluminescent and probably produces a greenish or bluish bioluminescent light.
Wow, that's so cool. I live in Galveston in Texas, and I have seen some bioluminescent on the waves from time to time. The same, effect that would make us see it on the surface of the water in some places.
Yeah, exactly. So there are planktonic phytoplankton, single-celled plants, which can produce blue light. So Noctiluca is probably what you see in the waves around Galveston. And as the waves break, these things light up. And a lot of these deep sea animals, they use the light in the same way you have a motion detector around your house. So you have a motion detector around your house, and if someone walks by, it turns the lights on. Well, these animals can flash light to light up potential predators, so that some other animal might see their predators and eat them before the predator can get them. Some of these animals in the deep sea, they use light to find their prey. They have bioluminescent lures to attract animals towards them. You might remember in Finding Nemo, the dory follows that light to the anglerfish. So the same kind of thing. So bioluminescence is used to find mates, to find prey, things to eat, to scare away or light up potential predators so they get eaten. There's a lot of different uses for bioluminescence. We really don't understand it all that well.
Wow, that squid looks like it's at like a dance party. It's so brightly lit. It's like a neon sign. That's so cool. Wow. Yeah, anglerfish are like one of my favorites. I think they're so fascinating. And sometimes they're a lot tinier than we think they are, even though they look like really big and scary, which is pretty cool.
Very true.
Awesome. So I see that we have all these really cool videos and photos, but we talked about how these depths are mostly deeper than most scuba divers can go. So how are we seeing all of this stuff down there, hundreds of thousands of feet below? How do we get all this cool video and photo stuff?
So we're using a remotely operated vehicle, which we call an ROV. The one we have on board is called the Global Explorer. And it's basically like a submarine that we control from on board the ship. So we have a control room up on the top, and we deploy the ROV over the side. We have wonderful pilots and people controlling it for us. And we have a live stream of the video going pretty much the entire time the ROV is in the water. So we have that going behind us, actually. And it lets us see what's happening. There's a manipulator arm, like a claw machine arm that we can use to move things around. We also have a suction arm, kind of like a vacuum hose, so we can pick things up and take samples. And that is how we do things without having to get in the water ourselves.
Right, and we don't have to worry about it running out of air. It doesn't get tired. As long as we're sending power down to it and we have communications links, we've got a presence in the deep sea.
Wow, and I saw there was like some boxes on the front too. So when we use that claw arm, it can put things in the bins for us to bring up, like some of the coral samples we talked about in the beginning, some of the crab samples and things like that. And I think that usually it can come up kind of with the water from the same depth too, using that bin to help. Very cool. And I saw there were lots of cameras on the front of that thing as well. And it looks like
lights.
Yeah, and it looks like we have another robot or something else down there that the ROV is waving at. What is that thing with the big lights?
That looks like a lander of some
Is that the
sort.
lander or the clump weight?
I think that's
That
the
one's I
lander.
think it's the lander, the big
Okay.
like 7-foot lander, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so
Oh.
we've got eyes in the sea, we've got hands, we've got the containers to bring things back up with the ROV. So it's really a capable system. You also might have noticed two little green dots on the video. Those are our lasers, and those are parallel. They're two beams, two laser beams. They're separated in this case by 33 centimeters. And that allows us to measure animals. So when we see an animal, we know the distance between those lasers, and we can use that to figure out how big the animal is on the seabed.
Wow, it's like having your own little ruler, but you don't have to go down there and measure it yourself. That's
Yeah.
very cool. And that lander that we had down there, I think that stays down like for like a year, right? And that has just saw something go by. And that has some more instruments and things on it to be able to collect information while it sits down there. And I think it has a camera on it too, right?
Yeah, time-lapse
Awesome.
camera, I think. So, yeah.
Amazing. So I'm sure we'll get a year from now, maybe when we get to bring it back up, we'll see the other view of that. Oh, and they made it into a jack-o'-lantern. Jack-o'-lander, I heard it was called. That's amazing. That's what happens when you deploy a lander in October. Amazing. So a year from now, when we pull this giant lander up, we'll be able to see the video of the ROV waving at it, like we saw the lander from the ROV's point of view. Very fun.
You got to have a little bit of fun, when you decorate these things. You got to have a little bit of fun while you're at sea as well. Obviously, it's fun doing the science we're doing. That's a pipeline we just went over, that yellow thing. The other thing we do that's fun, when I talked about the pressure, we take cups like these and we decorate them, styrofoam cups, and we put them in a laundry bag and send them down with the ROV or with the clump weight that it's attached. And where we're working, it's about 1,500 meters depth. So that's 151 times the pressure that we experience here at the surface. And so all the air in the styrofoam cups gets squeezed out when we send them down. And so a cup this size comes back as a little miniature cup like this when we bring it back to the surface. So it compresses them down. And oceanographers like to collect little cups like these from every cruise they've been on. And We keep them. I sometimes decorate my Christmas tree with some of them. So it's fun.
That's amazing. So that's like over 3,000 feet that those cups can go down to, and then they get squished.
Yeah.
It's good. We keep them in a little bag so that we don't put any trash in the ocean, and then we bring them back up, and they make souvenirs. Very cool. Very cool. So it looks like you're having some festive fun for Halloween on board since it is October. Do you have any candy? Are you guys trick or treating on board?
Do we
What do we
have
got
candy?
here?
We have so much candy.
Oh my goodness.
We got tons.
That's stuff.
We don't
jealous.
anticipate any trick-or-treaters out here, but we may have candy.
It's just me.
Just you. Just folks on board looking for some candy.
Yeah.
Amazing. And the ROV pilots kind of tend to be in one spot for most of the day, right? As they're piloting the ROV. So, like, do y'all bring them candy? Do they have like a little spot there for their candy so they can stay fueled? I hope so.
They have a bag, yeah.
The snack bag
Full
upstairs.
of Smarties, actually. Those rolls
it's been
of
a lot of
Smarties.
Smarties, yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting choice. Yeah, I'm more of a chocolate fan, but to each their own. All right, so are there any deep sea creatures we can't see with the ROV camera, like ones that are kind of more hidden to us?
Yeah, well, in shallower depths, we're really working down, over a mile down. But in the shallower parts of the ocean, there are a number of animals. There's one of my favorites when we're talking about Halloween is an animal called Phronima. And Phronima is an amphipod. And it was the inspiration for the monster in the Alien movies, James Cameron's Alien franchise. So when you look at the head of this animal, if you made it 6 feet tall, you would have the alien that's in the movies. And what Phronima does is it finds another animal called a salp. And a salp is a little invertebrate, kind of a barrel-shaped animal. Phronima grabs hold of it, eats the middle of the salp out, and then climbs inside. The salp's tissue is still living and creates its own little spaceship. And it flies around with this little jet-propelled spaceship and lays its eggs inside there. And the young Phronima start to eat the living larder that they're flying around in. So I don't think it gets more creepy than that for Halloween. I think we just lost your audio.
Oh,
There you are.
There we are.
did you say arthropod?
Amphipod. Amphipod.
Oh, okay. What does that mean? Can you
It is,
explain
which
that
is
word?
an
It is an arthropod.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Great. So
If
that's
a
like
roly-poly is squished this way, an amphipod is squished this way.
Yes.
that is a really good description. Thank you for explaining that to
Yeah.
us.
That is a deep sea amphipod called Cystosoma, the giant amphipod. Again, another neat adaptation, and that's something we wouldn't see easily with the ROV. Those animals are entirely transparent. The only thing that you see is the retina of their eye, which is slightly orange, and a little bit of their digestive gland, which is slightly orange.
Wow. Amazing. So that's kind of like we said, it's like roly-polies or like insects like are to us up here on land. Fascinating.
Yes. Yeah.
So,
the crustaceans
so
are the insects of the sea.
right. So we can find some tiny creatures, not necessarily just with the ROV, but with the mud samples, the sediment samples that we're doing, which I think we showed a video of earlier in the introduction about the sediment samples we're getting. We can see some creatures that aren't necessarily seen on the video, which is pretty cool, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So the ROV can push cores into the mud and bring us back a sample of the mud as it was on the seabed. Basically, it's just taking a plug out of the sea, and then we can bring that up, and it can be analyzed for contaminants. And then the little animals that are in the mud, living in between the grains and the sediments, can be examined under the microscope and counted. It's painstaking work. God bless the people who can do it.
I bet.
Yeah.
But those things are really important, right? Even the ones we can't see are really important to the habitat and the way that different parts of the mud work together, nutrients and important stuff in there that helps, really supply tiny bits of food and other things to the animals that live down there, right? So mud is super important. both on land
Yeah.
and at sea, especially.
They're all part of
Awesome.
that deep sea ecosystem.
Yeah. All right. So we have a question here from the audience. Can you give us more information about the ctenophore specimen you showed us? Is it maybe an undescribed species? The one we showed that had the really long tentacles. Do you have any more info about that yet, or is that something that we'll find out later, maybe down the line?
We're not certain either. It might be a genus called Bathytina. We want to send that footage to Steve Haddock at MBARI, the Monterey Bay Aquarium Research Institute. Steve's an expert on these animals, and he'll be able to tell us if it's been described yet. There are a lot of animals that we see down here. We know they exist. We just haven't given a name to them because they haven't been collected and properly described through the whole process that results in an animal getting a scientific name.
Yeah, and that can take a really long time, right? Because we have to compare it to things that already exist to, see if it might be really similar or different enough to be its own species. And that can be a really long process, but it's very cool to be able to see things, right, that might not have a name yet. That's really special. Very cool.
Yeah.
And I know that working in the deep sea too, we'll see things that don't have what we call common names, which, like we said earlier, like Dumbo, octopus, giant, isopod. Right. Those are all what we call common names, which just makes it easier for people to recognize what we're talking about without having to use these big, long Latin names or the scientific names. So I think in the deep sea, right, there's still a lot of stuff that doesn't even have a common name.
That's true. And if they have common names, the common name here in the United States might be different than the common name in Japan.
Wow.
So but everyone agrees on the Latin name, on the scientific name.
Right. So we can always check that and say, are we talking about the same thing? It's really cool, too, to have experts on all these little, different animals to be able to call them up or email them and send them pictures and say, hey, can you help me identify this? So a really important part of this restoration work, as we're all working together across these big teams to help these habitats that were injured by the oil spill, is there's just so many smart people that know so much about very specific little things that to have each other working together is just so special and really makes this restoration work possible.
Absolutely true. Yeah. And I think it's exciting for them too. I hope it's exciting for them too, to suddenly see some footage. Well, it might be a new species. It might be something they've never seen before. So by sharing the information with the experts around the world, it's a win-win for everybody.
Right. And especially in the Gulf too, I feel like deeper parts of the Gulf might not have as much attention or have been, explored as much as maybe some parts of the Pacific or the Atlantic Ocean. When we're thinking about deep sea creatures, a lot of the footage we see is from those places. So it's really cool to be able to, especially me living in Galveston, to have that, be my backyard, being, seeing really cool footage from there. So I have, I think, one last question for you. What is your favorite spooky ocean creature? Do you have one or a couple that you want to share before we wrap up?
I mean, my favorite's always going to be the vampire squid, which is neither vampire nor squid, but it's a secret third thing.
Whoa. Yeah, that's cool. It does have that purplish black Dracula color, right?
A little bit of the cape color, yeah.
From the Count Chocula character on the cereal box.
They have beautiful blue eyes too.
They do.
Yeah, that's so cool. How big are they? They look like they might be kind of small.
They're not huge.
Yeah, little.
Oh, we're both holding up our hands. I don't think you can see us.
Yeah. How big?
Little.
Okay. That's bigger than I thought. Okay. All right. Any other favorite spooky ocean creatures?
There's an animal called Magna pinna. It's also a squid. And these look like something from another world. They've got these really long arms, and they've got elbows,
90-degree
elbows with these long tentacles hanging down. There was a famous one that was seen in the Gulf near an oil platform, and people were saying this was an alien monster, an alien creature. So they're really cool.
Yeah, for any of the adults watching, if you've seen like War of the Worlds, I feel like they kind of look like those little creatures.
Those tripod
Very neat.
creatures. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Amazing. Oh, we have some spooky footage of one. I think this was a last year, or the year before on one of our missions.
Here
We
we
saw
go.
it from a distance and
Yes.
we were like, "What? Oh man, it's so cool. Look at those long
Look at the length of
tentacles."
those tentacles, right? That's just
Wow.
incredible.
Haunting.
Yeah.
What's in that background there? You can't even tell. That's
Might be a sea
creepy.
cucumber behind
Sea
it.
cucumber.
Yeah.
Oh, a sea cucumber. Those are more cute than creepy. Amazing. I think my favorite would probably be the chimera. I know we saw it. Oh, there's another big fin squid. That's also in the Gulf. Wow.
Flying away.
Look at it. Goodbye. So cool. That's awesome.
Yeah. That's
Well, thanks for sharing
amazing.
your favorite. I was one of the ones we showed earlier was one of the chimeras that I really like, and there it is. Yep. So that's a little short-nosed version of one of those creatures, which are really cute. Kind of looks like it has a little dog face as well. And then they also, I think, have a long-nosed version, which looks a lot like Zero from Nightmare Before Christmas. Oh, there
There you
it
go.
is.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're so cool. I think they're there you go. I think they're really cute, actually. Not quite as
You
creepy,
can't make
but
this stuff up, can you?
right? I bet that's what inspired Zero. All right. Well, let's see if we have any other questions from the audience before we wrap up. All right. We do have one more question here. Did you imagine as a child you'd work your dream jobs? How does the reality of working your dream job vary from your childhood daydreams? Great question.
I definitely always wanted to be a marine biologist when I was a kid, so every day is living the dream. It's just that there is a lot more math involved than anyone ever told me. It's a lot of coding and a lot of math, but you start to enjoy that as well. Producing like a really nice graph at the end of a hard day of working on it, it's up there.
You didn't think about that part when you were a kid, but I'm glad that it's
No.
not terrible. Even the really complex parts of it, right?
Yeah, processing isopods, making graphs.
Right.
I also wanted to be a marine biologist from as long back as I can remember. And it is great. No one told me that there would be seasickness. I didn't think about that. Nor did they tell me there'd be paperwork and a lot of paperwork. But it's still great.
Yes, agreed. I think a lot of us end up spending more time in our computers than we'd like, but we do get those opportunities to go out and be at sea, which is really special and magical and makes up for the hours we spend at a computer screen. And then sometimes I get to be at a computer in a really fun way, like doing these programs and getting to talk to y'all while you're out at sea. So yeah, it's, obviously work can be work sometimes, but when you get to work at sea or get to, talk about fun creatures, that always makes it better. Awesome. All right, now we have one question for the audience, I think, before we wrap up, and then we're going to say bye to y'all. But we wanted to ask the audience, what's your favorite deep sea creature? So if you want to share in the chat, we have a few options for you, but you are welcome to also type your favorite into the chat. But we have a giant isopod, Schaefer's anglerfish, which is one of my favorites. These are all pictures from our missions too. Deep sea red crab we talked about earlier, and that long-nosed chimera. Oh, there's a typo on there, but that's okay. That one's really hard to spell. All right, if you have favorites, select them here or type it into the chat as we wrap up. We'd love to hear from you. All right, so thank y'all for joining us on board, and we appreciate you spending time with us today and hope you enjoy all of that candy. So I wanted to make a note, all of it, not all of it maybe. There's a lot of candy on there, and I know you have ice cream to eat too. So as we're wrapping up, I want to share a special note that I know our folks on board will find important as well. We've talked a lot about spooky creatures, but we want to remember that they're fascinating, should be appreciated, and aren't necessarily dangerous to people. And every creature has a place in the ecosystem, right?
Absolutely.
Awesome. So thanks for joining us today. We'll let you get back to work. We appreciate you and have a good rest of the day.
Thanks. We enjoyed it. Bye. Happy Halloween.
Bye. You too. All right, so we're going to wrap up here. So during this program, we wanted to take the time to really focus on the work happening on this particular mission on this ship out in the Gulf. But I wanted to wrap up by reminding everyone that this mission is just a snapshot of the restoration works and the mesophotic and deep benthic communities restoration projects in action. The improved seafloor mapping, the deep dive into understanding these seafloor communities, how they're connected, the work in labs and at sea helping more corals grow to restore and make up for ones that were injured by the oil spill, the removal of ocean trash and the reduction of other threats, and efforts to connect people to these habitats are all important parts of one big goal: restoring deep Gulf habitats injured by the Deepwater Horizon oil spill. So please check out our other live stream videos, recordings, and online resources to learn all about our efforts at sea, on land, in our coral labs with our partner organizations, aquariums, museums, universities, and more. We even have fun educational materials for all ages available to download for free at marinesanctuary.org/MDBC. So we'll put some links in the chat now. And last but not least, we'd love to get your feedback on today's program, so fill out the quick survey that will be linked in the chat if you like. All right, thank you so much, and thanks for joining us today. Have a great day.